Donald Trump's Department of Justice under Jeff Sessions has decided to reopen the case of Emmett Till, but they refuse to say why exactly. The case is about a 14-year-old African-American boy who was abducted, tortured, and murdered in the Deep South in 1955. Many younger people today may not know about or be aware of the significance of this case, which came just a year after the Supreme Court decision of Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. It's the case that brought down separate but equal and made school segregation illegal in America. Emmett Till was visiting relatives in Mississippi when he walked into a white-owned store. The part owner, Carolyn Bryant, accused the young teen of being verbally inappropriate. Carolyn Bryant retold the story inconsistently a number of times. I need to give you a warning. The pictures I'm about to show you are gruesome and graphic. Emmett Till was kidnapped from his bed, brutally tortured, and shot in the head. His body was found in the river 3 days later with a cotton gin weighting him down, hooked onto his body by barbed wire. Emmett Till was tortured beyond recognition, but his mother chose to have an open casket funeral so the whole world could see what these racists did to her precious baby boy. The graphic nature of the case of Emmett Till symbolizes America's barbaric racism and was a driving force behind the civil rights movement. Carolyn Bryant's husband and his half-brother were accused of the brutal torture and murder of Emmett Till, but in 1955 they were acquitted by an all-white jury in less than an hour. Years later, in an interview, the men openly boasted about having committed the savage crime. These men have since passed away, but the now 80-year-old store owner who originally accused Emmett Till is still alive. Last year, a book was published with an interview of this woman, and in it, she admitted to lying. The Emmett Till case still haunts our nation. The picture of this child's mutilated body remains entrenched in the minds of millions and serves as a wound on our nation. In America today, this wound is reopened every time an unarmed Black person is killed by police, suffers racial injustice, or is tormented for the crime of merely existing. Flash forward to 1989, where young Donald Trump is living in New York City. At that time, news was spreading quickly of a brutal sexual assault and near killing of a woman who was jogging in Central Park. 5 young men, known as the Central Park Five, were picked up as suspects. 1 teen was Latino, and the other 4 were African American. Their ages ranged from 14 to 16. Not one of the 5 teens had ever been arrested before, and they weren't allowed to have their parents or counsel present while undergoing police interrogation. Despite their DNA not being a match, the 5 young men were forced into a confession. Donald Trump was not a politician at this time and had no additional knowledge of the case, but he took it upon himself to put 4 giant full-page ads in 4 of the New York City newspapers. These ads advocated for the death penalty for these teens. Donald Trump had the audacity to act as judge, jury, and prosecutor in the court of public opinion. While the teens weren't executed, they were sentenced to long prison terms. After the teens had spent years in prison and had their lives destroyed, the real attacker was identified. The man, who was actually arrested for a different crime, admitted to attacking the jogger. His DNA was a perfect match. Even after the Central Park Five were acquitted of all wrongdoings and released from prison, Donald Trump went on television denying their innocence by publicly saying that they still did it because they had admitted to it. So pardon my skepticism when the Trump administration feigns actually caring about people of color or African Americans. I'm disgusted by Trump's sudden attempt to appear empathetic to Black Americans on historical issues while routinely perpetuating and inflaming civil rights issues on a daily basis for people in historically marginalized groups and Black Americans. Don't get me wrong, there's no case that deserves closure or justice more than the case of Emmett Till. While Trump is having an altruistic moment for Black Americans, how about he allow the same closure, for whatever it's worth, to the Central Park Five, who were alive and had their lives destroyed as young teenagers, all with the help of an arrogant, racist Donald Trump. Please support my attempt to educate white America by subscribing to my Angry Soccer Mom YouTube channel. Thank you.